Well, hate to be coming on to do this show. Was planning on doing a show today anyway, um, with all of the excitement surrounding this week, as NASCAR leads into one of their biggest weeks of the year. You had the Hall of Fame announcement on Monday, or Tuesday, sorry. And when that was announced, there was a lot of excitement about it. There was a lot of debate about it. I'll get into that on a different show. That was going to be today's, and then kind of looking more towards the Coke 600 weekend. Exciting time, and was really excited about it. And then news broke yesterday that Kyle Busch had been hospitalized with a severe illness. And then word broke late that Kyle had passed away. No cause. We're not going to get into that. There's lots of stuff out there, I'm sure, as you can imagine, on the internet. There's stuff saying he became unresponsive at the training simulator. Here nor there on all that stuff. I'll wait till facts come out to start getting into all that. Wasn't a Kyle Busch fan. And not that, I didn't dislike it. He just wasn't my driver. He always beat my driver. That's for sure. Him and my driver, Kevin Harvick, had a heck of a rivalry. And Kyle, got his wins. Kevin got his wins, but Kevin Harvick put out a statement saying Kyle pushed him to be better. He pushed everybody to be better. When you lined up on the racetrack and you saw that car next to you on a restart or on the pole or anywhere, to be honest with you, you knew that was somebody you were going to have to deal with if you wanted to win the race. And more often than not, it was true. You go back and look at some of his stats, and it's stuff like he has the most wins all time in the National Series. And it's not really close, to be honest with you. Just rattling off some of his numbers here in the Truck Series. 69 wins. Yeah, 69 in just the trucks. The O'Reilly Auto Parts Busch Series, now it's been numerous different things. Right now it's called the O'Reilly Series. 102 wins in 367 races. And the Truck Series, to go back, he's raced 184 times and won 69. That is purely insanity, the percentage of wins there. And then jump up to the Cup Series where he had 762 starts and won 63 times. So well over 200 just in those series. That's not counting the ARCA and all the other series all the other stuff he's raced. Super sad day. Again, wasn't my driver. Wasn't, somebody I rooted for. But let me tell you something. Kyle Busch he made a lot of NASCAR fans. People loved his brashness, his fieriness, his competitiveness. Plus, he won. I will say Kyle Busch, to me, and some of the people I know in NASCAR that we've talked that follow NASCAR, not in NASCAR, that's a bad term. He had what I call the New York Yankee syndrome. And some people may not get that. But if you know baseball, the Yankees have won a lot of, World Series titles. And people hate them because they won so much. So to me, he got a lot of his fans against him from that. It was just he's winning too much. We got to root against him, things like that. Some people didn't like the brashness. They didn't like the the comments. I can tell you stuff I've seen from Kyle Busch in my years of watching, where he's gotten into arguments and fights and all this on pit road a couple years ago. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. waited and punched him, and there was that. And the Joey Logano, he had a fight with Logano. He's had a fight with quite a few people, argued with a few, but there's videos out there. If you got time, go watch them. You'll enjoy laughing. If you've ever seen some of these videos where, like, for the Super Bowl, what was it, Marshawn Lynch? I'm just here so I don't get fined. Well, there's times where Kyle Busch comes out of the NASCAR hauler from an incident, and they called him in there, and he's walking off, and the reporters are shoving microphones in his face, and he just does and walks off, never says anything. And people hated it, but looking back at it, it's pretty funny. The greatest Kyle Busch interview ever happened in, I want to get this right, I think it was when he had the fight with Joey Logano, when they both got called to the NASCAR hauler and they got talked to. And when they were getting ready to come out, Joey asked Kyle, "You want me to go first?" And Kyle said, "I'll go." So he walks out first, and Joey Logano just stands behind the doors when they close, and you can't see him or anything. And they immediately microphones in the mouth. What happened? And his answer to the first question was, "Everything's great. Fine. Can't wait to get in the car next week." Well, Kyle, can you tell us about everything's great? I'm fine. Can't wait to get in the car next week. He said that about 6 times. And it is one of the classic interviews of all time. You want to listen to Kyle Busch go crazy? Just get on YouTube and go to NASCAR Radioactive. And just every show is going to be Kyle Busch. He's on there somewhere. And, don't get mad if he's not on one, but you get my point. He's on there a lot. Great show to watch. It's the drivers, just screaming, yelling, cussing, mad. I know some of the stories that I heard yesterday when the news broke. I immediately flipped on my Sirius XM and started listening to Channel 90 NASCAR radio. And of course it became, and all day today has been to tributes and people just talking and telling stories. And some of the stories I heard, and these aren't just from fans, these are from, industry insiders, were just greatness. Not necessarily just funny, but some of them were just stories about what you didn't know behind the scene, about you didn't know what kind of dad he was. And everything I've heard is he was a phenomenal father and a husband to Samantha, and father to Brexton and Lennox, his daughter, and his son. His son is Brexton. He was racing also, but he changed a lot when he became a father. Much like not to change the name, but much like Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick was a hothead, but he had kids and things changed. And Kyle Busch had kids and things kind of calmed down a little bit. He was still fiery. Don't get me wrong. He would still let you know this car sucks. He had no problem letting anybody know they were number one. Whether it be a NASCAR official standing in front of his car, whether it be a competitor, he didn't care. Just didn't care. And again, some people loved it, some people not so much, but he meant a lot to the NASCAR world. I was listening just a few minutes ago before I went on to actually Steve O'Donnell, the CEO of NASCAR, came out and was giving a statement. I'm shocked it kind of took this long, but I think everybody wanted to wrap their head around this before they spoke. But he came out and he said that people ask him, what is NASCAR about? What is it like? And he said, it's a family reunion. Okay. And what he means by that is these guys are together 36, 37 weeks, 38 if you count the two non-points races. Pretty much 38 weeks consecutively. These guys are all together. Girls, wives, husbands, whatever. They're traveling around together. And he said family doesn't always get along, but they're still family. And Kyle would fit into almost anybody's family from what I could see, because he'd probably be more considered that crazy uncle nobody really wants to talk to, but we all want to at the end of the day because, you know, he's going to have some funny stories. That's kind of how I face Kyle. I don't know. It shocked me yesterday. I've dropped a few tears over it, not going to lie, as everybody should. Even if it's not for him, his family, his kids. Brexton, I think, is 11, and I think Lennox is 4. And what he did off the track. I mean, there's there's plenty of stuff out there you can read and find about their foundation, the Kyle Busch. I think it's the Kyle and Samantha Busch Foundation. I think it's called A Bundle of Joy or something like that, but it's about IVF and how hard it was for them to have children. And Samantha has a boutique and stuff she sells. Part of the proceeds go to that. I think part of Kyle's sales go to that. Stuff he did off the track to help people. Just one of the class guys that, if you look at him as a racer, he was fierce. Like I said, dumb, competitive, mean. But if you take the fire suit off of him and let him just talk, he's just a guy. And he was a husband and a dad. And it's just hard to put into words what his loss is going to mean to the NASCAR community. You know, he not only did he have all these wins as a driver, he also owned KBM, Kyle Busch Motorsports. And they had trucks, and they raced in the truck series. And on Sundays, when you're watching NASCAR races, I mean, the list of people that he gave a chance to race: Christopher Bell, William Byron, Eric Jones, I believe John Hunter Nemechek got a ride there too. And the list goes on. There's more than that, but I mean, those guys are every Sunday Cup drivers, and they may not be there without Kyle saying, "Yeah, you can drive my truck." He knew how to pick talent, for one, but he also knew that people need a chance, and he gave it to them, and they've run with it. I don't know about but this is also known as Fan Week in the Charlotte area, Concord, and all those little towns around where the race shops are. They all open up and do Fan Day. Like today was Hendrick. They all do it all day, but I know for sure Hendrick came out and stated, "We're canceling." And out of due respect for Kyle and his family, we're not having Fan Day. And so they canceled it. And I'm pretty sure most of them did. The ones that were scheduled for Friday. Some did it on Thursday, and obviously they didn't know at that time. So, but the rest of them, I believe, canceled. I'm not 100% sure, but I know Hendrick did. So, and if Hendrick did, you could probably bet the rest of them did, because a lot of people follow Hendrick's lead. But there's been a lot of debate on this whole, since this went down. There's been a lot of stuff on X and Facebook and pretty much anywhere you can message and put stuff. People are saying, before we get into that real quick, also everybody, definitely keep Samantha and the whole Busch family, Kurt, his brother, his mom and dad, keep all them in your thoughts, in your prayers. They need it. To be only 41 years old, it's just wow. But you also need to keep the whole Richard Childress racing family, not just Richard and his wife, Judy, I believe is her name. But all of them, Austin Hill, Austin Dillon, Jesse Love, anybody that's a member, all the pit crew, all the people building the cars, the people marketing the cars, the sponsors for those cars. And keep all them in your thoughts and in your prayers as well, because Richard Childress is a very, very strong-willed man, and a very strong, has to be. This will be the second driver he's lost during it. He was the car owner when Dale Earnhardt passed at Daytona in 2001. And of course, now he's the car owner for Kyle Busch. When Kyle had been in the hospital, they had already put a statement out that Kyle wasn't going to drive this weekend anyway. So they had already had a replacement, which is going to be Austin Hill in the Cup Series. I'm sorry. Yeah, he's going to replace him in the Cup Series. And if I'm not mistaken, Corey Day is going to replace him in the Truck Series, which actually races tonight, if weather permitting, by the way. The crazy thing is I'm trying to look up the results, but fitting or not, Corey Day is on the pole. I think qualifying might have been rained out. Yeah, qualifying was set by the metric. But even with the metric, the truck Kyle was supposed to drive is on the pole with Corey Day. And I can tell you the grandstands are pulling for the number 7 truck to win. Austin Hill has a lot of people that do not like Austin Hill. They don't like his driving style. They don't like Austin Hill has fans, but he's much like Kyle Busch. He has people that love him and people that wish he wouldn't race. But I promise you, Austin Hill's going to have the whole grandstand behind him on Sunday too, or whenever they race the Coke 600. He's going to have a whole grandstand behind him, much like Kevin Harvick did when he took over for the 29, when they rebranded the 3 car to the 29 after Dale's passing. He automatically gained Dale Earnhardt's fans. So, but yeah, Richard Childress, man. My wife said, I think it was my wife or somebody said, wonder what Richard Childress, how he's handling it right now. And I said, well, I can promise you right now, if I was Richard Childress, I'd probably be deep in a bottle of bourbon right about now. It's just, one of the saddest days for NASCAR in a long time, 25 years at least. So, but the debate has been, there's been a couple of different topics debated that I want to give my 2 cents on, because I think they're stupid and point blank. It's just how I feel. Somebody said we need to not race this weekend. That's not going to happen. The only reason they're not going to race is because of weather. They're going to race. NASCAR races. Dale died in Daytona on a Sunday night. We race the next weekend. It's what you do. If you think Samantha and Kurt and the rest of the Busch family wants to cancel the event, you're wrong. They want them to race. Racing heals. It's just how it works. There's no way that race should be suspended. Again, weather is a different subject. But you race. NASCAR races, that's what they do. And as hard as it is, it's hard. And it's brutally hard. And I'm going to tell you, the whole scenario around this weekend where it's to honor the fallen soldiers and military people, to now this on top of it. Yeah, I guarantee I'm watching all the pre-race stuff. It's going to be brutal, but it's what we do. So canceling races is just not in the cards. People have asked, they need to never race that car again. They need to park it for the rest of the year. That's not going to happen either. Maybe Richard goes to NASCAR and they rebrand it with a different number. That's possible. But to park the car, it's just not going to happen. This sounds horrendously bad, but there's too much money involved. And I know that sounds bad with what, is going on, but these cars cost so much money. And other people have said, you need to do this, and this. And they're like, well, you have to get approval from NASCAR. Well, let me tell you something. NASCAR's $1 billion industry, well over $1 billion. They still have hearts. They're not going to tell you, oh, no, with these circumstances, no. You can get your little waiver. You're probably going to get a waiver coming out anyway if they put somebody in that car full time. And that car makes it in the top 16 in the standings. That car may be in the chase. I don't know, but it's just a lot. From what started out as a great week turned sour real fast. And it's not, I know people that despised Kyle Busch. They could not stand anytime he was on anything, talking, racing. They could not stand the man. And, everybody has their own opinion. That's fine. Those people have still shed tears over this because it's a family. It's a crazy, wild family too. And we all pull together as NASCAR fans. It's just what we do. And especially the competitors, you believe it or not, as fierce and competitive as those guys are, and as much as they talk bad about other people, on Actions Detrimental, which is Denny Hamlin's podcast, he had said, if you're expecting Kyle Busch to win races, and again, mind you, this was weeks ago, if you're expecting Kyle Busch to jump in and just automatically start winning races again, you're mistaken. Throwing a shot at Kyle, saying you're too old, you're washed up, you're not going to win. Throwing shots at him. Obviously, we didn't expect this, but, when Kyle went out last Friday, and won the Truck Series race at Dover, he got out, and the thing he said was, well, I guess I still know how to drive. Throwing a shot back at Denny. Whatever. It's what they do. But when you get them out of that element and you get them back in they may have gone out and had dinner together. It's just how it is. You think about it in football terms. You see these guys beating the hell out of each other for a full football game, and at the end, they're over there shaking hands, trading jerseys and stuff. No different. During the heat of battle, you see it. You see the fighting, boxing, UFC. They beat the hell out of each other, and then they hug each other, and they move on. It's part of the thing. So, but there are a lot of people hurting with this, and deservedly so. And I hope that some of the people that have tuned in and watching, I appreciate it. And if y'all got any questions or anything you want to mention, drop them in the chat, please. But hope anybody that's watching or sees this that realizes they want to learn a little bit more, get on YouTube and just Google Kyle, or just YouTube Kyle Busch, NASCAR, radioactive, interviews, and you'll find stuff in there that'll just have you laughing. He is one of the last real racers in my mind that we had. Kevin retired. He was there. Denny's there. Joey's there. Brad's there. Those are some of the last guard with the bridge to the older generation of drivers. So he'll definitely be missed. Hopefully we get to see, and we'll see what his son decides to do with his racing career, because that kid is super talented behind the wheel too. If he continues his racing career, he'll have all the support in the world he needs. From anybody in NASCAR, the Harvicks, the Logano's, the Keselowskis, not to mention Kurt Busch and all the Busch family and Richard Childress and all them. This guy will have support if this is what he decides to do. Obviously, nobody wants to force that on him right now, but we'll see what he decides to do with his future. Same with his sister. See what he wants to do. I'll tell you, there's a video out there on ESPN from Marty Smith, from Marty and McGee. That was a pretty good thing. It was aired on SportsCenter. But I read something last night from Ryan McGee, the other half of Marty and McGee. And he said there's an old TV or an old movie back in the day called Driven. It had Sylvester Stallone in it. It was IndyCar stuff. And he threw quarters down on the track. And, this is impossible, by the way. But he drove without hitting any coin in an Indy car. Well, the funny story about that is Kyle Busch did that at his where he grew up in Las Vegas, but he didn't have a bunch of quarters. He threw the little tabs from the Coke cans. He put those around in the cul-de-sac he grew up in and drove in and out of them, zigzagging without hitting one. He was 6. He was 6 years old and could handle a go-kart like that. I'm 51. I'd probably have flat tires from hitting the Coke tabs. One of the most phenomenal wheelmen we've ever seen in the sport. The comment I'll shut this down with came from Brad Keselowski. Brad Keselowski stated that he raced with Kyle, and they fought and they raced and he made everybody better. And he said when you'd look over and you would see Kyle right there, you knew you were in trouble. And he came out with the comment that stated, "I'm now a coyote with no roadrunner to chase." All we can say is just rest easy, Kyle.